Okay. Yeah. Let's rock and roll. All right.
Okay. 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 So my name is Taylor, and I am arguing for legalization of marijuana. The reasons that I believe that it is important to legalize are I think that it is a good medication for people to use. There are multiple different uses for cannabis oil for many different diseases and problems that people may have. It also creates money for the states who already have legalized, and it could create a lot of money for states that haven't legalized yet for them to use for other things such as like education and things like that. And I also think that it would help to minimize the need for police enforcement with marijuana. They can be used for other things like bigger issues than arresting people for marijuana related subjects.
Good start.
Thanks.
Okay, Nicholas, you're on.
I'm on. All right, it's the questions, right? Okay, so you guys hear me? You guys hear me?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of? Okay, so my question would be is due to like how would it help keep people out of prison, like the marijuana? I guess is my first question.
So it's not necessarily that the marijuana would help people stay out of prison. It's just that they wouldn't be arrested for marijuana related issues like for possession or for selling it or, transporting it to places because it would be legal. So there wouldn't really be any need for people to illegally sell it because it's sold everywhere in stores, highly accessible. They don't really need to transport it because, it's legal, so you can get it anywhere in any state. Right now, I feel like that's more of an issue because it's not legal. So people in Colorado or Washington, and I think California is legalized now, they can move it to a different state and then sell it, which is a big issue right now. But if it was legal everywhere, they wouldn't have that issue.
Do you have any statistics on marijuana arrests?
So in my paper, I found that they are currently spending about $3.6 billion on enforcing marijuana laws, such as like what I just mentioned, like them like transporting it or selling it, possession of it. The police are currently spending over $3 billion on it. So I think that would be a good cut out of, if it was legalized. I mean, that's a pretty big chunk of money that they could be using for different resources.
Okay. All right. We'll give my opening statements. Okay, off the record, I'm doing marijuana, so it's
right. We're sorry, Nicholas.
Okay.
We know you can do this. You can do this.
I'm opposed to legalizing marijuana. I have three main issues. One is for physical health. The other is for mental health and the overall negative effects it can have on somebody's personal life. So, like bad for their health, in a study published in 2007, scientists simulated the smoking habits of marijuana users using smoking machines that could register the levels of chemicals found in marijuana smoke. By the way, this is the American Chemical Society. That's the source. They found ammonia levels 20 times higher than that of tobacco smoke, and hydrogen cyanide levels and nitric oxide levels 3 to 5 times higher than tobacco. These toxins are more harmful to humans, and the public needs to understand that there are more risk and exposure to these elements. And then another study found marijuana smokers develop lung disease 20 years earlier than tobacco smokers. Lung problems for marijuana smokers are showing up in people in their 40s, opposed to an average age of 65 years of other tobacco. So, and I know there's that argument of, tobacco or marijuana is a plant, and why can't we just use it as a natural herb? But I mean, if you look at tobacco, that's also a plant, and tobacco also is a killer. Now, that's a whole different topic, I understand, but so the comparisons, I don't really want to get into those, but because but also it's bad for your mental health. There's I know that it can help with anxiety, but like a lot of people have like underlying diseases in their brain, like anxiety disorder. I consider anxiety disorder different than just having anxiety. Like right now, me and you and I have anxiety because we're
Right. Yeah.
Like, people get, they don't necessarily have anxiety, but like anxiety disorder is completely different. And marijuana has shown that it can like trigger stuff such as like schizophrenia and anxiety disorders, and sometimes all it takes is that one bad reaction in your brain to have a negative effect on the rest of your life. That's pretty much my
Okay. So my question for you is this research based off of is it marijuana itself, or is it more because for legalization of marijuana, a lot of it is about the CBD, not the THC, which gets you high. So do you know if yours is based off of THC or CBD?
Mine is just marijuana as a whole. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, if you're talking about separating CBD, I mean, to me, I guess that's completely different because, I mean, CBD is a part of the marijuana, but we're talking about marijuana as a whole, I guess.
Okay. Well, let me think here. Okay, so other than maybe the anxiety, do you feel like there are other mental health ailments that could come with using marijuana?
Yes. Like, or when I said schizophrenia, depression, and I know everything, affects people. Alcohol affects people, but there's just, in my opinion, not enough research in marijuana to legalize it yet, because once you let that genie out of the bottle, it's hard to put it back in the bottle, when you legalize it. And then if we legalize it and then have all these studies, and then it's going to be really hard to make illegal again, because everybody's going to be doing it.
Okay. I think that's like all the questions that I have. So, I mean, I guess I can like tell you more about my side of it. So I actually found, and I'm talking more about like the CBD, of course, like marijuana as a whole would have to be legalized because it's the plant as a whole. THC is the part that will get you high. That's the part that people, that can make that anxiety higher and also like affect the schizophrenia and stuff. So I understand what you're talking about, but I actually found on my research that the CBD oil helps people with schizophrenia and it helps people with anxiety because it has an antipsychosis part that is in the antipsychosis drugs that they take in the marijuana and in CBD. So if they actually take the oil, then they are known to be like less anxious. They don't have that psychosis factor in them. So that is the difference between like the CBD versus like the THC in it. So I think it's important to legalize for those medical purposes. Let me think here. The CBD also the oil is a droplet. So I know that you were concerned about people smoking and the smoke inhalation that they get and the side effects of that. But by using the oil, they don't have those side effects of the smoking. It wouldn't affect their lungs. It doesn't have all of those toxins in it because it's a purified form of that CBD oil. And they just put it under their tongue. Some people roll it on their feet. And it gets absorbed. So if people have like seizures and stuff, and they're like, say they're like children, there's a topical kind of, it's not like a cream, I guess it's just like a topical gel that you can rub on their feet and it gets absorbed through their pores. so people can use it in other ways other than, you know, by smoking it. I think that that's like my rebuttal.
That was pretty good.
Thanks.
Now, are you for like legalizing it recreationally or just medically?
I think I'm more for just the medical side of it. I think that you need to, like, there needs to be a purpose behind why it would be legalized, and I think that the main purpose of marijuana is for medical use. So I don't really see a need for it recreationally legalized. I think that the only thing with recreational, I would say, that could help is potentially like that, you know, because for some of them, like for some of the, like I know California was medically legalized for a while, but they had like this kind of like gray area where if you had it on you, you don't know if that person has like a medical card or a medical use. So it's kind of, you know, like you're not going to ask them, and you can't really, you know, say, oh, do you have your like medical card on you if you see someone smoking it or using it, you know. So that's the only like stipulation to it, I guess. But I would prefer if it was just medically used, because I feel like it has a higher purpose than getting high, I guess. So
Say that.
I know something about it being like financially be able to gain in the States. So how would, if it was just medically made legal, how would
so if it was just legalized, say just medically in all the states, a lot of that money is towards people who have anxiety, who have depression issues, things like that, and they can really utilize like the marijuana for the medical purpose. And I think that that would be a way, like they can still have the stores. I know like California still had like the stores where you can go buy it. As a patient, you just have to get signed off by a doctor to go in there and purchase your pot. And, you know, and they also have like the oils available. So I think that it would still make a significant difference money-wise. And I think it would reduce that, like, you know, I think it would reduce the need for a lot of other medicines. So our research could go more into something else rather than just, you know, like updating like pharmaceutical drugs. I think that it could update like the marijuana and see like what else it can do, and like if it's mixed with something, different properties for it, you know. I think that the money that they could create would be used different ways.
Okay. The only problem I have, since you said it's a little bit more hard for me to argue, but like I know that they prescribe and they give, like in California that have anxiety disorders, they will give them marijuana and stuff like that, and they'll give them the plant as a whole. So I understand what you're saying about the CBD oil, but you kind of have to separate that from the plant itself, and this is on marijuana as a whole. So my thing with marijuana as a whole, which it also has the THC, is, in my opinion, it's bad for your mental health. It's actually addictive. In some of the research that I did, I know there's a lot of arguments out there that says that it's not addictive. Marijuana is extremely addictive for some, but not addictive for many. So I understand that. But for the few that are addicted, they believe it's harder than being addicted to like alcohol or tobacco. And tobacco is pretty addicting. And it's kind of scary because of the lack of research we have on marijuana. So I have an issue on like the THC as marijuana as a whole, with the CBD and everything and all the chemicals, and has an effect on people. My dog scared me, but
Okay.
As a whole, it can chemically affect your brain, and like I was saying before, the underlying diseases and stuff like that. The other studies show that young adults who use marijuana only recreationally, which not for, they had more abnormalities in two of the key brain regions that are important for like emotion and motivation. I know like people, we have like a reward part of our brain that, you know, like chocolate, you know, but every once in a while you're going to enjoy the chocolate,
Yeah.
but if you eat chocolate every day, you're going to get tired of it, So if people that do like marijuana all the time, it's just beating up their reward cycle in the brain, and it cause depression if you're just constantly smoking marijuana. And people have withdrawal issues too in some of the research that I've done. Withdrawing, it's not like the same as withdrawing from coffee or something. Like people
Coffee.
to get it. So by legalizing it, that's what I fear the most, is because of the lack of research on the brain. And there's much more research to be done. That's the scary part of the whole thing, is because and it makes it more available for kids and stuff like that. Society's going to accept it, like I said, about letting that genie out of the bottle, because people are going to be able to get it. They're going to be able to go to dispensaries, and it's going to be easier for kids. Brains are developing to get a hold of it, and that's mainly my main concern about that.
Okay. So I guess like my rebuttal to that is, so I know that you were concerned about like marijuana as a whole. They actually have different strains that they can make of marijuana, and the strains that they make for medical use and purposes are high in CBD and very low in THC, to where it won't even get you high. So although that was a concern, they aren't going to be able to really get high off of that THC, because the produced kind that they would use for medical purposes is the CBD rich kind. Sorry, someone's calling me. And also for I'm trying to think of let's see. Also, so for like the access issue, I think I understand your concern about children being able to access that, but that's true for other drugs. That's true for tobacco. That's true for alcohol. So any of those things, even like coffee, people can use and overuse and abuse that. And that's not necessarily a reason to not make it legal for people who don't do that. It's just because some people are going to abuse it, because some people abuse everything. There's abuse of, there's people who drink too much coffee. I drink too much coffee and I need it. And without it, I go through like the withdrawals, I get headaches, and I abuse that. So, I understand your concern, but there's always going to be that no matter what you do. And I think that by legalizing it medically, there is actually less of a concern for that, because of the lack of THC in it. It won't get you high. So there's nothing for you to feel when you're taking it, other than for like your pain to go away, or for your depression to feel like less depressed. So I wouldn't be as concerned about people abusing that as possibly if they were just smoking like the regular marijuana, like recreationally. They could definitely abuse that. So I understand your concern on that, but I have to disagree with you. Sorry.
I guess my main issue arguing on this side is the fact that we were talking about making it easier to get for children, and you said everything is, its availability and stuff. But like, chances are people who are prescribed it have anxiety issues. Those aren't the people buying it off the streets,
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you're given it by a doctor, that's going to tell a kid, oh, a doctor gave this to her, or gave it, whether it's their parents or whatever, they got it, and they, their parents let them smoke it, or whatever issue you could have with that. That's pretty much my problem with it. For the medical side of things, I pretty much concede to that. I understand that, they make different strands, and CBD can, help greatly with anxiety and all that. I completely agree with that. So, my main issue, I guess, with the medical would be the availability and what it's telling children, because we pretty much, okay, alcohol is legal, but we pretty much understand everything about alcohol. Children, are told alcohol is not good. Children pretty much know to stay away from alcohol and not to try alcohol. But marijuana, I don't know. I feel like it's just telling society that it's okay to try and stuff like that. And
Well, excellent, guys. I think we should come to conclusion now, and I think that because Taylor started, let's let her do her conclusion, and then Nicholas, because you were so gracious to take a side and agree, we'll let you have the last say. And you know, when you're ever out buying cars or picking out clothes, it's always the last thing you look at that's the most impressive, right? So I apologize. Okay, so
Okay.
you go ahead and conclude.
Okay. So, for my conclusion, although I see your points about marijuana and the concerns for children to have access, people getting high, and basically abusing the system, I believe that that can happen in any instance with any kind of substance, such as alcohol, tobacco, or anything. They will always have access to it some way, somehow. Someone's, willing to give it to them. So I don't think that that is a completely valid reason to X out all of the medical properties that it can have. It's proven to reduce and freeze cancer cells. It's reduced people with epilepsy, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There's a lot of medical properties that are really great about marijuana, which need to be legalized, and then they can be further researched to see if there's more medical properties than they already have. It'll also end up saving the police a lot of money and time and effort by making sure that they don't need to go out and look for people who are smoking weed. They can do things that are more useful with their time. They can look for, I know there's a big heroin epidemic going on right now. They can look for people doing that, and they won't have to spend their valuable money on jailing people for that. They can jail people who deserve to be in jail. And then also the states can end up making a great profit off of legalizing marijuana, and they can put that back into their state and, do good things with education and, other places that really need the money. And so I think that marijuana should be legalized, and I think it really helps people.
Okay, and Nicholas, you can confess where you stand on this, okay? Or you can confess that you're a little bit crazy after all the research and study.
I'm so more prepared to argue against recreational, but medically, I have to say, I pretty much concede, though I do believe that medical research should be limited to pharmaceutical companies and stuff like that. My closing argument will pretty much just be that, I concede and I agree that, people have medical issues, and, opioids are not always the answer because they also damage the body, pretty harshly. And, my closing argument would just be the only risk that we really have is, telling children in society today that it's okay to smoke marijuana and doctors. But I'll just leave it at that because I pretty much concede the medical side. We were arguing the recreational. I was prepared for it because, and I am on the other side of this too, the cartel. But I was ready to take on the devil's advocate of cartel. I was ready for all of that because I was going to say that it would help the cartel because it would allow, because a lot of cartel members are Americans, and I was going to talk about how basically they've already had issues in marijuana dispensaries where they've come and threatened them and pretty much robbed them, and it gives the cartel a legal way to sell marijuana by taking over the stores and stuff like that, and it's recruiting, because people have this misconception of marijuana. If we stop selling marijuana, or if we stopped making marijuana illegal, the cartel pretty much wouldn't exist, but it would.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Never thought of that.
Yeah,
because
that's pretty interesting.
They're still selling, cocaine, sex trafficking, and all that other terrible stuff, murder, and just stuff like that. Stuff like that. I was ready to get into.
Yeah, we better focus here.
I agree with you completely, 100%. It's so hard for me to argue against that.
Cool.
Well, have you all had fun?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was nervous, but it wasn't that bad. So
No. Hey, I just want to say that you guys have been terrific, okay? I think it's a little harder to work in such a small group, and you guys really stepped up to the plate. I think 4 or 6 is a really good class size, but it's always about 2 or 3. 3 is really awkward, let me tell you. And stepped up to the plate, and I loved your topic, by the way. And by the way, I raised 3 kids myself through all of these issues, so I'm 100% behind you on this. And isn't research fun? You know, you really come across stuff you didn't know about. You learn not to cherry pick your research. So many people just cherry pick. You know, they just look for what they're looking for and say, okay, I'm right. You know, but no, I think you all really went into it and you looked at it thoroughly, and then having the debate format, having to kind of prepare, this back and forth thing. I think you learn more, right?
yeah.
So
hey, you've been great. If both of you, if you ever need a letter of recommendation for grad school or job, you know how to find me. Okay, I'm a good.
Thank you.
And extremely impressed with your performance in the class, and I think internet classes are harder, and the way you all have stepped up to the plate is really impressive to me.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Well, okay, you guys have a nice evening, and I'm going to go down and get my breakfast and go to my face-to-face teaching today. So rest assured, you both getting good grades, A's. All right, so I'll be preparing those. Yes.
Okay.
Well, you did all the work, and you stepped up the plate. You did it excellently. You had an excellent debate today. We put up with the technology. I mean, it's been a lot of fun. And I hope you all feel like you learned something, okay? I think you did.
Yeah.
You did. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okie dokie, guys. Thanks so much for participating. This has been a lot. I'm going to send this on to Cody Buell, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Get a hold of me if you need me, all right? Bye-bye.